My wife shared photos with her so-called work husband while I was home watching our kids. Instead of starting a fight, I left divorce papers on the table and made one phone call. By the end of that week, she'd lost her job, her image, and her family. But none of that compared to what her boyfriend ended up losing. My name's Glenn Callahan. I'm 42 years old and have owned a dental clinic in the suburbs of Phoenix for 8 years. I thought life was perfectly in order. A gorgeous wife, Shelby, who worked as an administrator at Valley Medical Center, 2 great kids, Samuel, 17, about to start his senior year, and Chloe, who just turned 14 last month. We had a nice house with a pool, took yearly trips to Colorado, and I truly believed we were living the American dream. That Tuesday morning started like any other. I sat at the kitchen counter with my coffee, scrolling through social media before heading out to work. Samuel had already left early for baseball practice, and Chloe was upstairs getting ready. Shelby had flown out the previous night for a medical conference in Denver, something about new patient management systems. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then I saw it, a post that hit my feed like a freight train. There she was, my wife, arms wrapped around some man in a suit, both grinning like a couple of teenagers at prom. The caption made my stomach twist. My real work partner. Couldn't handle these conferences without you. #workhusband, #teamwork. I stared at that screen, maybe half a minute, though it felt like hours. The guy looked far too comfortable. His hand rested on her waist, and she leaned into him like it was second nature. 43 likes already, and the post had only been up for 20 minutes. My hand didn't even shake as I set my coffee cup down. I walked into my home office, opened the filing cabinet, and pulled out a folder I'd hoped I'd never need. The divorce papers I'd had drawn up 6 months earlier during a rough patch. Just precautionary, or so I thought. I laid them on the dining room table, right where Shelby always tossed her keys when she got home. Then I opened my laptop and did something I'd never done before. I commented on her post for everyone to see. Divorce papers are on the table. No shouting, no drama, just the truth. Then I grabbed my hedge trimmers and went outside to do some yard work. The neighbors probably thought I was having the calmest morning of my life. They had no idea I'd just lit the fuse that would destroy everything Shelby thought she could get away with. The first call came at 2:47 p.m. I was cleaning instruments in my office when Shelby's picture flashed on my phone. I let it ring. 10 minutes later, another call. Then another. By the time I locked up that evening, there were 14 missed calls and a string of desperate texts. Glenn, what the hell was that comment? Call me back. You're overreacting. It was just a work post. People are staring at me here. I drove home in silence. No radio, no thoughts, just cold focus. When I pulled into the driveway, Samuel was shooting hoops in the garage. He jogged over as I got out. Dad, Mom's been calling every 20 minutes, he said, bouncing the ball. She sounds freaked out. What's going on? I looked at him. 6'2", broad shoulders, old enough for the truth. Your mother made some bad decisions, son. We'll talk when your sister gets back from soccer. His face hardened. This about that post? The one with the guy from her job? My brows rose. You saw it. Everyone saw it, Dad. Jake showed it to the baseball team at lunch. They were laughing. I wanted to punch him. His voice trembled. I felt my anger boiling over. My 17-year-old had been humiliated because of his mother's public choices. That was a line she could never uncross. When Chloe came home, I sat both kids down in the living room. The divorce papers were still visible on the table. Kids, I began, your mom and I are separating. This isn't your fault. Chloe's eyes filled instantly with tears. But why, Daddy? What happened? Samuel pulled her close, voice steady beyond his years. It's because of that post, isn't it? The one with her work boyfriend. Samuel, I said quietly, what exactly did you see? Everything, Dad. Her Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. She's been posting with that same guy for months. Always at conferences. Always the same captions about teamwork. His jaw clenched. The guys at school have been joking about it for weeks. I just didn't want to tell you. The room fell silent except for Chloe's soft crying. Then my phone rang again. Shelby's name flashed on the screen. This time I picked up. Glenn, thank God, she said, her voice high and panicked. I don't understand why you're doing this. It was just a fun post with Ryan. Everyone has work friends. Ryan, I repeated, making sure the kids heard. That's his name. Yes, she said. Ryan Nichols. He's the new operations manager. Glenn, you're scaring me. People are starting to ask questions, and I don't know what to say, Shelby whispered. Tell them the truth, I replied. Tell them you forgot you had a real husband while you were busy playing house with Ryan. The line went silent. I turned to see Samuel and Chloe watching me, eyes wide, a mix of shock and something close to respect. Dad? Samuel said quietly. What happens now? I walked to the window and looked out as the sunset painted the desert in shades of orange. Now, I said evenly, we find out what your mother values more, her family or her reputation. The next morning, I made a phone call that changed everything. Dr. Williams returned it at 8:15 a.m., right as I was finishing my first patient consultation. Glenn, he began, his tone serious. I reviewed those social media posts you sent. This is deeply concerning. I thought you should be aware before it damages Valley Medical's reputation, I said, stepping into my private office. I've already spoken with our compliance department, he continued. Shelby's conduct at conferences, especially posting such personal photos publicly, violates our professional ethics policy. We represent a medical institution, not a social hangout. I sat down at my desk. So what happens now? She'll be called in for a formal review when she's back, Dr. Williams said. Glenn, how long has this been going on? Based on the timeline of her posts, at least 6 months, maybe longer. He sighed. I'm sorry you're going through this. Shelby's always been competent, but this shows a serious lapse in judgment. We'll handle it appropriately. That afternoon, Samuel came home with news that made my blood boil. Dad, he said, dropping his backpack near the door. Coach Peterson pulled me aside after practice. Some parents have been talking about Mom's posts. Apparently, Jake Anderson's mom saw them and started gossiping at the parent meeting last night. My jaw tightened. What kind of gossip? She's saying Mom's having an affair with a coworker. Coach just wanted to check if our family's okay. He said it's affecting team morale. Samuel's voice was calm, but I saw the humiliation behind his eyes. Dad, this is getting out of control. Your mother created this mess, son, I said. But I'm going to end it. That evening, I called Shelby's mother, Patricia. She'd been quiet since the divorce papers appeared. Patricia, I began, you need to understand what's happening. Shelby's actions aren't just hurting our marriage, they're hurting your grandchildren. Glenn, dear, she said gently, I'm sure this is a misunderstanding. I'm sending you screenshots of her posts. Look at them yourself, then tell me it's a misunderstanding. 20 minutes later, she called back. Her tone completely changed, heavy with shame. Glenn, she said, I had no idea. This isn't how we raised her. I know, I said, but she's telling people I'm controlling and paranoid. The kids need someone she respects to tell her this behavior isn't acceptable. What do you want me to do? Tell her the truth, I said flatly. Tell her she's throwing away her family for a man who probably doesn't even respect her enough to keep things private. Patricia was silent for several seconds. Then she said quietly, I'll call her tonight. Thank you, I said. The kids need to see that someone in this family still has values. The next morning, I dropped the kids at school and headed straight to Phoenix Legal Associates. My attorney, Janet Pierce, had handled my business contracts for years. She looked over the divorce papers and the printed screenshots of Shelby's posts, then let out a low whistle. Glenn, this is pretty serious evidence of an inappropriate workplace relationship, Janet said, spreading the photos on her desk, especially for someone in healthcare administration. Hospitals are strict about professional conduct. I leaned forward. Exactly what I was thinking. Janet, I need 2 things. First, file the divorce papers immediately. Second, transfer ownership of the mountain cabin solely to me. It was bought with inheritance money from my mother. The cabin in Flagstaff? She asked, checking the paperwork. That's simple enough. The deed already lists you as the primary owner. She made notes, then looked up. What about custody? I want full custody, I said firmly. The kids have been humiliated at school because of her actions. Samuel's getting mocked by his teammates, and Chloe's confused about what marriage even means. Janet nodded. Given the evidence of infidelity and the public embarrassment of your children, that's very possible. And her job, I added with a grim smile. Valley Medical has a zero-tolerance policy for conduct that reflects poorly on their institution. I happen to know. I provide dental services for their employee insurance plan. You're going to report her? I'm going to inform her employer that one of their administrators has been posting inappropriate content while representing their organization at conferences. They can decide what to do. That afternoon, I drafted a professional email to the HR director at Valley Medical. I attached screenshots of Shelby's posts, highlighting the dates and conference locations. The email subject line read, "Employee conduct concern, professional representation at industry events." Right after sending it, I called Dr. Williams again. "Glenn," he said, his tone sharp, "I've already informed our board about the situation. They're not pleased. Shelby's public behavior has damaged the image of our entire institution." "What happens next?" I asked. "She'll be suspended pending a full investigation when she returns Thursday. Her access to patient data and conference privileges will be revoked immediately." By 5 p.m., I had transferred $75,000 from our joint savings into a trust I'd quietly opened months earlier. By 6 o'clock, I had changed the locks on the mountain cabin. By 7 o'clock, I had canceled Shelby's corporate credit card. When the kids got home, Samuel found me in the garage, sorting tools. "Dad," he said, "Mom's been calling everyone. Grandma, Aunt Lisa, even Coach Peterson. She's telling people you've had some kind of breakdown." I kept arranging screwdrivers. "What do you think, son? Do I look like I'm losing it?" Samuel studied me for a moment. "No, sir. You look like a man who's finally done taking crap from people." I handed him a wrench. "Good. Help me with this workbench. Tomorrow's going to be interesting." Thursday evening, Shelby's car pulled into the driveway. I was on the porch, sipping iced tea, watching the sunset. The kids were inside doing homework, though I could see their faces peeking out from the window. Shelby stepped out of her rental car like she was walking toward her own sentencing. Her face was swollen from crying, her eyes red. She dragged her suitcase up the steps. "Glenn," she said quietly, "we need to talk." "No," I said, not standing up. "You need to listen." She sat in the chair across from me, the same one where we used to plan vacations and discuss the kids' school projects. Now it felt more like a courtroom. "I got a call from HR today," Shelby said, voice trembling. "They're suspending me pending an investigation into my professional conduct." "Are they?" I took another sip. "And what did you tell them?" "I told them it was a misunderstanding, that someone's trying to ruin my career." Her tone hardened. "Glenn, I know it was you. How could you do that to the mother of your children?" I set my glass down and met her gaze. "The same way you could humiliate the father of your children online for half a year." "It wasn't humiliation," she protested. "It was friendship." The front door opened. Samuel stepped out. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Her voice softened immediately. "Of course, sweetheart. Why did you call that man your work husband when you already have a real one sitting right here?" Shelby's mouth opened, but no words came out. "Samuel, you don't understand. Adult relationships are complicated." "No, Mom," Samuel said firmly. "They're not. You either respect your family or you don't. Posting pictures with another man and calling him your husband isn't respect." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I never meant to hurt anyone." "But you did," I said quietly. "You hurt me. You hurt Samuel. You hurt Chloe. And tomorrow, when you try to go back to work, you'll realize you hurt your career too." "Glenn, please," she pleaded. "We can fix this. I'll delete everything. I'll tell everyone it was a stupid mistake." I stood and walked toward the door. "Shelby, some things can't be fixed. They can only be ended cleanly." "What does that mean?" she asked, panic rising in her voice. "It means you have a choice. Sign the papers, and we'll end this with dignity. Or fight me, and watch everything you've built crumble, piece by piece." She followed me inside, desperate. "Glenn, I choose you. I choose our family." I turned to her in the hallway. "You already made your choice, Shelby, 17 times, on social media, over 6 months. Now you get to live with it." Friday morning, 9:30 a.m., my phone rang. Dr. Williams again. "Glenn," he said, "Shelby just left my office. The investigation's finished, and it's not good." I was between patients at the clinic. "What did you find?" Besides the social media posts, we discovered she'd been billing personal expenses to conference accounts, upgraded rooms, spa treatments, dinners for two that weren't on any business itinerary. He sounded exhausted. She also admitted to what she called an emotional relationship with Ryan Nichols. "An emotional relationship?" I repeated. "That's what we're calling affairs now." "Glenn, I have to ask. Were you aware of any financial misconduct? I noticed odd charges on our statements, but I trusted my wife to manage her professional expenses. Well, he said heavily, those expenses weren't professional. We're terminating her employment immediately, Dr. Williams said. She'll receive a 2-week severance, but her access to patient data and conferences is permanently revoked. After hanging up, I called Samuel's school. His guidance counselor, Mrs. Patterson, had left a message expressing concern that family issues were affecting his studies. Mrs. Patterson, this is Glenn Callahan returning your call about Samuel, I said. Mr. Callahan, thank you for calling back. Samuel has seemed distracted in class this week. Other students have been whispering about family matters, and I wanted to check if he needs support. The family situation is being addressed. My wife and I are divorcing due to her inappropriate actions, but Samuel has my full support. I see. If he needs counseling or academic accommodations during this transition. Actually, Mrs. Patterson, you'll find his performance improves once the instability at home is gone. That afternoon, Samuel returned from school with news that made me proud. Dad, he said, something happened at school today. Jake Anderson tried to make a joke about Mom. I shut it down immediately. What did you say? I told him real men don't mock other people's family problems. I said, Dad is handling this like a gentleman, and anyone wanting to gossip can deal with me personally. I felt a surge of pride. How did that go over? Coach Peterson heard everything. Later, he told Samuel he was proud of how I represented the family during a difficult time. Samuel sat at the kitchen table. Dad, I know this is hard, but you're doing the right thing. Son, sometimes being a man means making tough choices to protect those you love, even when those choices hurt. Will Mom be okay? He asked. Your mother will learn that choices have consequences. Whether she's okay depends on if she can take responsibility for her actions. That evening, I received a text from an unknown number. Mr. Callahan, this is Ryan Nichols. We need to discuss Shelby's situation. I showed it to Samuel. Looks like your mother's work husband wants to talk. What are you going to say? I'll tell him he picked the wrong family to mess with, Samuel replied. Saturday morning, I had breakfast with the kids when Shelby came downstairs looking exhausted. Her hair was messy, her eyes red, and she clutched her phone like a lifeline. Glenn, she said shakily, I need to talk about work. They're not just suspending me. They're auditing every conference I've attended this past year. Receipts, itineraries, expense reports, everything. They're treating me like a criminal. Samuel glanced at me. Mom, maybe you should sit down. I can't, she snapped. Do you know what this means? If they find irregularities, I could lose my license. 20 years gone. Did they find anything? I asked calmly. Her silence was answer enough. Chloe looked up from her cereal. Mom, why are you yelling at Dad? He didn't make you post those pictures, I said. You don't understand, Shelby shot back. You're embarrassing our family, Chloe said matter-of-factly. And now you're mad people noticed. Shelby's face flushed. I am your mother. You don't get to talk to me like that. Actually, I said, setting down my fork, she does. Unlike you, Chloe knows right from wrong. I stood slowly, my 6-foot frame casting a shadow across the table. Shelby, I didn't turn anyone against you. You did it yourself by humiliating this family publicly. It was one post, she exclaimed. 17 posts, Samuel corrected quietly. Shelby spun to him. You've been tracking my social media? Mom, everyone's been tracking it. The whole school knows about your work boyfriend. Dad's just the only one with enough backbone to act. Shelby began crying again, but this time it seemed manipulative, performative. I never meant this to happen. I just got carried away with the attention. The attention? I repeated. Yes, she said, through tears. From Ryan Nichols. He made me feel appreciated, valued, like I mattered, which I didn't. Shelby looked at me, pleading. Glenn, when was the last time you looked at me the way he does? When was the last time you told me I was beautiful, smart, or important? I asked, moving around the table until I stood right in front of her. When was the last time you gave me a reason? When was the last time you came home and spoke about our family instead of your work drama? When was the last time you posted a picture of your real husband instead of some pretend one? Shelby had no response. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You will sign those divorce papers. You will move out quietly and explain to the kids why you chose a man you barely know over the family we've built for 17 years. Glenn, please, she began. The conversation's over, Shelby. You made your choice public. Now live with it. Tuesday afternoon, I found myself in Dr. Sarah Chin's waiting room with Samuel and Chloe. Shelby had insisted on family therapy before signing the divorce papers, claiming I was emotionally manipulating the children against her. Dad? Chloe whispered. Do we have to do this? Sweetheart, sometimes other people need to hear the truth from a neutral source. When we were called in, Dr. Chun was professional yet warm. She arranged us in a circle, me and the kids on one side, Shelby alone across from us. Shelby has concerns about how the children are processing the recent marital difficulties, Dr. Chun began. She feels they are being influenced against her. I stayed silent, letting Shelby speak first. Glenn has turned our children against me over what was essentially a work friendship, Shelby said. He made them believe I was having an affair when nothing physical ever happened. Dr. Chun turned to the kids. How do you feel about what's been happening at home? Samuel spoke first. Dr. Chun, my mom posted pictures with another man for months, calling him her work husband. Kids at school have been joking about it. I defended her until I saw the proof myself. What evidence worries you most? Dr. Chun asked. That she spent our family money buying gifts for this guy and never posted pictures like that with Dad. Dr. Chun then looked at Chloe. And you, Chloe? I'm confused why Mom thinks calling another man her husband is acceptable when she's already married to Dad. Your mother says it was just a workplace term, Dr. Chun replied. Chloe interrupted firmly. If I posted pictures calling some boy my boyfriend while dating someone else, would that be okay because it's just a term? Dr. Chun glanced at me, then back at Shelby. Shelby, how do you respond to your children's concerns? They're old enough to notice, even if they don't fully understand adult relationships or workplace dynamics. I never meant to hurt anyone, Shelby whispered. That's not the question. How do you think your actions affected them? Shelby paused. I guess. I didn't think about how it would look to others or to my husband and children. Dr. Chin added gently. Or to them. Shelby admitted. Yes. I finally spoke. Dr. Chun, my concern isn't whether Shelby intended to hurt us. It's that she still doesn't understand why her actions were wrong. Glenn's right, Samuel said firmly. Mom, you're still trying to justify instead of just admitting you were wrong. Dr. Chin summarized. There's been a significant breakdown in trust and communication. Shelby, do you acknowledge that, regardless of intent, your actions harmed your family? Shelby nodded, tears streaming. Yes, I acknowledge that. And Glenn, are you willing to consider reconciliation if Shelby fully takes responsibility and changes? I looked at my wife of 18 years, broken, defeated, and felt nothing but emptiness where love used to be. Dr. Chun, some things can't be fixed. They can only be ended with dignity. 6 weeks later, I sat in Janet Pierce's office, watching Shelby sign the final divorce papers. Her hands trembled slightly as she wrote her name, her lawyer casting nervous glances at the settlement terms. Shelby, Janet said professionally, by signing this agreement, you forfeit all claims to the Flagstaff cabin, the dental practice assets, and the children's college funds. I understand, Shelby replied quietly. Her mother, Patricia, sat beside her, looking ashamed and disappointed, having flown in from Nebraska to encourage Shelby to sign without fighting. Mom, Shelby had said the night before. You're supposed to support me, Patricia had replied. I am supporting you in making the right choice for once. Now, watching Shelby initial each page, I felt no satisfaction, no triumph. Only relief that it was finally over. Samuel and Chloe waited for me in the truck outside. They had insisted on coming, wanting to see their mother take responsibility for her actions. Will she be okay financially? Chloe asked earlier. Your mother will receive half the value of the house and her retirement accounts. She'll manage if she finds another job and stops making poor choices, I told her. The meeting ended quickly. Shelby's lawyer packed his briefcase as if he couldn't leave fast enough. As everyone filed out, Shelby approached me. Glenn, can I say something? She asked. I looked at the woman I had loved for 18 years, now small and defeated. Make it quick, I said. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that losing you and the kids is the biggest regret of my life. Regret doesn't change anything, actions do. Will the kids still see me? That's up to them. They're old enough to choose whether they want a relationship with someone who picked a stranger over their family. She nodded, tears streaming. "What will you tell people about why we divorced?" she asked. "I'll tell the truth, that my wife forgot she was married and had to be reminded publicly." As I walked to the truck, Samuel rolled down the window. "Dad, how do you feel?" I looked at my children, strong and principled, who had learned valuable lessons about character and consequences. "I feel like we can finally move forward without wondering when the next disaster will hit." 3 months later, I was coaching Chloe's volleyball team when I got a text from Ryan Nichols. "Mr. Callahan, I wanted to let you know I got engaged to someone actually single. Thank you for teaching me respect and boundaries." I showed it to Chloe during a timeout. "Dad, do you think Mom learned anything from all this?" I watched my daughter serve an ace that won the match. Some people learn from consequences. Others blame everyone else. Either way, it's not our problem anymore. 1 year later, I sat on the deck of our Flagstaff cabin, watching Samuel and Chloe toss a football in the yard. The divorce had been finalized 8 months prior, and life had settled into a peaceful rhythm I had forgotten existed. "Dad?" Chloe called. "Remember when Mom used to complain about the Wi-Fi here?" "I remember," I replied. "Now she won't have to worry about it." Samuel jogged over. "Dad, Jake Anderson's parents are divorcing too. His mom was the one spreading gossip about our family last year. How's Jake handling it?" "Not as well as we did. He's angry at everyone, but I told him what you taught us. Sometimes bad things show you who people really are." Chloe joined us on the deck. "Dad, do you miss being married?" "I miss being married to someone who respected our family, but I don't miss walking on eggshells or fearing the next humiliation." "Do you think you'll marry again?" "Maybe someday, but only someone who knows marriage means putting family first, not airing your private life online." My phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Williams. "Mr. Callahan, Shelby applied for a position at Phoenix General. They called me for a reference, and I told them the truth about why she left Valley Medical." I showed it to the kids. "Do you feel bad she can't get another job in healthcare?" Samuel asked. "Son, your mother created consequences when she prioritized her reputation over her family. Those consequences don't vanish just because she wants a fresh start." That evening, we grilled burgers while watching the sunset paint the mountains orange and purple. No drama, no anxiety, no wondering what inappropriate posts might appear online tomorrow. "Dad," Chloe said, "thanks for not letting Mom make our family a joke." "Chloe, a man protects what matters. You and Samuel matter more than keeping peace with someone who doesn't respect our family." Samuel raised a soda can in a mock toast. "To Dad for showing us what integrity looks like." I clinked my beer bottle against theirs. "To a family that knows the difference between right and wrong." Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I sat alone on the deck, listening to the wind through the pine trees. My phone was silent. No frantic calls, no manipulative texts, no social media drama, just peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't public or dramatic. Sometimes it's living well while those who betrayed you face the natural consequences of their choices. Shelby was somewhere in Phoenix, probably scrolling job listings, wondering how her life fell apart so quickly. That wasn't my problem anymore. My focus was raising 2 teenagers who understood that character matters more than convenience, and some bridges, once burned, should remain burned. I fell asleep that night to the sound of absolute silence, and it was perfect.